Hey guys, we are live for the 94th Redroom, and we are here on the Phoenix RIA Facebook page, my personal Facebook page, Luke's personal Facebook page, the Viking Boys YouTube channel, and then the Just for Flips YouTube channel. Today we are talking about sale-leasebacks with Andy Griffin. Andy has been a longtime friend of mine. And agreed to jump on the Phoenix RIA panel, I want to say 2 months ago. And I was just watching the audience about sale-leasebacks, and I think a lot of them were just like a little bit deer in the headlights. A little bit like, what does he do? So, I just kind of figured we'd dive a little bit deeper into it, and just instead of having him on a panel, just kind of just ask him questions. So thanks for jumping on, Andy.
For sure. I appreciate the invite. I'm excited to hang out with you guys.
Absolutely. Really quick before we get started, guys, I know you can't see Chris, but it's his birthday today.
Oh, nice.
I think we got to have everyone wish Chris a happy birthday,
I think Tracy should sing it.
I was going to say, I think the boys should start off, and
you don't want to hear me sing, I promise.
Yeah. My allergies have been going nuts, so that's my excuse.
Happy
birthday, Chris.
Well, that's why we turned off the camera. I'm 54 now, so once you get over 50, you just turn the camera off.
You're sitting on the beach somewhere with a margarita. Don't want anybody to get jealous. Is what's going on.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Andy, how? It was. I met Andy when he was running the district. We talked about this a little bit before. He was running, I don't know how many fix and flips in Central Phoenix in the historic districts. He was really just kind of running that central corridor, wholesaling, fix and flipping, a little bit of all of it. I feel like your mailers were everywhere down there.
Just read all the Facebook posts. They loved them.
So what was the transition from that into sale-leasebacks? And just tell everybody what the sale-leaseback is.
Yeah, the sale-leaseback is literally looking for a homeowner that, for me, looking for a homeowner that maybe has some sort of financial distress or doesn't really want to move. Typically, they have a family, they have some sort of obligations, and maybe they stumbled. I'm looking for good people who just had a tough break. They got to have some equity in their home. Rents are typically going to be a little bit higher than the mortgage, so you got to get creative with some financing a lot of times. It's really. Look back in the district, the original district days. We were doing. I don't know. We had 25 or 30 remodels and new constructions going at a time, and we were getting so much feedback from our marketing letters that we had to do something with them. So we started wholesaling and realized, wow, this is a lot less stressful than all these remodels. So we moved heavy into that space. But the intent was always to try to find a way to help people. And for me, it's as I've kind of scaled back the volume of deals, from a couple hundred deals to far less now and far less employees. Mm-hmm. For me, I still want to help people. I still want to provide an opportunity for people that are in a tough situation. And it all really started for me. I got in this business in 2008 when the market crashed, and my house was worth $650 yesterday and $300 today.
Yeah.
And, the bank wouldn't talk to me. I had 2 kids. ING Bank wouldn't do anything. I had 2 kids at the house, and 1 and 3 years old, and I lost that, and I lost a bunch of rental properties, and I knew what it felt like. And so I got into I left doing lending at that point and got into the real estate side where we were out with Tracy actually, out chasing homeowners, we're having financial distress, and I could sit on their couch, and really at the time it was just buy them time, buy them grace of an exit, and and also prevent the lenders from coming after them for any deficiencies. And so it felt really good to be able to earn money that way. And that was the first time in my life that I can help people. They appreciate it, they love it, and I can make money doing this. And so I've just always stayed in that space. And you guys know how real estate goes. It kind of ebbs and flows on what works and what doesn't. And so, the sale-leaseback to me really started picking up around COVID. I don't think anybody knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I remember I bought like 9 houses at the beginning of COVID when everybody on our calls that Chris was doing was pulling back, and I just saw some opportunities, and I just think there's an opportunity, and it's challenging. I mean, we can go into a lot of detail, but you cast this wide net for potential sale-leaseback, and it just gets real skinny, So it's kind of a niche model. But I mean, I got a guy that's been in the house 7 years. I had a guy that lived there till he passed away. I mean, people that transition after a year or two. So you kind of really, for me, I'm not selling these off. I mean, when I took a break from what the district was doing, I started another company generating sale-leasebacks in the Southeast, so Florida, Georgia, Texas, North Carolina, and we were selling those off to institutional capital. And so I really didn't have a one-on-one relationship. It was just a volume game. And I exited that company and decided to take a year, which turned into 2 years, kind of traveling, having fun, and kind of reevaluating my life and realizing,
for sure,
I want a different type of headache, and it's not managing a ton of employees and hundreds of transactions. And so
right.
It's much more of a one-on-one. I mean, I tell the homeowners, like, you guys should be interviewing me as much as I'm interviewing you, and then we'll talk about the deal, because we're gonna have a relationship together. And so it's where I'm at. It feels good. It's helping people, and I get to kind of pick and choose who I want to work with, and so far it's been working pretty good.
Do you feel like it's a much more much less stress for kind of environment than you were in before?
Man, it's hard. It's hard in a lot of different ways, because the education of what it is, right? Like Chris said, I mean, it seems so simple to me. You buy a house and you lease it back to them, right? Like, how complex is that? But same thing, looking at a room of investors, young or whatever, it was kind of like they needed more details, And so trying to explain that to a homeowner who's never really heard that, right? Meanwhile, they're getting bombarded with agents wanting to sell and guys knocking on the doors, and the banks, either dicking them around or offering them something. They have so many offers coming to them that trying to wade through it all. I think the education piece is probably my biggest obstacle. It's a lot of these are long nurtures of like, hey, I got to work through the loan modification process. I got to work through all this stuff. So in that regard, it's more challenging. And again, man, like, you throw this net out, and like, the house has to be in good shape, right? Like, I can't buy a house that's fully distressed, because I can't be in there working on it all day with people in there. And then it's got to have the ability to be improved, because even if market, I can't charge more than market rent. So market rent $1,750, their mortgage is $1,500. They got to overcome the $250 extra. Does that make sense? So I'm not making a lot of money on the rents every month, and it's a competitive market. I'm not making these huge rips on the buy. And so there's got to be some upside, and then you blend buying at a little bit of a discount, get a little bit of rip on the rents, and then have some upside when they're out. And does that all blend 5 years down the road to make some money on the exit? So it becomes more challenging in that sense, from like a financial aspect of it. And obviously, capital is expensive. So, keep going down that box. It's like, hey, the final question is, hey, what about your current debt? Can we use it? Right. And so it's just like disqualify. So for that regard, it's harder. It's like a wholesale deal. Like, the house is beat up. It's like, hey, it's pretty easy. Go in and win the deal and keep it moving, or fix and flip. But
does that also make it less competitive? Because if an agent is coming to the door, or if a fix and flipper is coming to the door, they're typically one-trick ponies, where like you and I have known each other forever. So you have the benefit of having multiple and different tools in your toolbox, and you're disqualifying them, but it probably, in the same vein, is disqualifying a lot of other people that can't help them. So do you find that it's less competitive in that way?
For sure. I'm the only one at the table with the sale-leaseback most of the time.
Right.
And, I hate to say it, but like, we all see the deals that go out on these lists of like creative financing. They're all shit. People don't know how to structure them. So, it's the challenge is when somebody does get a hold of them and create structure a creative deal that doesn't work, then you're trying to unwrap it. But yeah, I mean, and listen, it's the lead, right? Like, that's my marketing is all sale-leaseback. But if the house doesn't qualify, I'm moving into wholesale or fix and flip, or even put a sign in the yard and sell that contract maybe to somebody else to do the listing. But yeah, far less competitive. But I mean, the volume of deals, I mean, look, it's a weird place. It's like having 25 employees and doing a couple hundred deals a year, and like the madness of that, versus like having a couple offshore employees and like trying to travel and do a few deals, and like I need more volume to make more money, but like I don't want to, you know what I mean? Like, so it's less competitive, but it's also, it's it's a harder deal for people to grasp. If that makes sense.
Sure.
And again, the box gets, if it's a single guy in his house, like you're not taking a discount, you're moving the dog and you're moving on, you're taking the full pop, you know? So there's a lot of things that have to go right. And that family metrics of it, being good human beings, having some upside in the house, being a nice house, you know, a decent house, like not beat up, willing to do something creative with your financing right now because the markets are all, I mean, look, when I sold my last company, I started, you know, working in the district again. We were paying cash for the properties and waiting 6 months for seasoning, getting them appraised, and then cashing them out with traditional debt. And almost most of these deals, I mean, I don't know how many millions of dollars worth of deals we bought for not a lot of money out of pocket because the market was running. And so they were all cash deals, hold them, season them, cash them out, refinance. Now you can't do that. I mean, you know, it's that $1,500 payment they have is $2,500 to you and rent's $1,800. Like, you can't pencil those deals. So the box just it's harder from that capacity.
Do you see that maybe? Oh, go for it, Luke. I was going to ask if you see that increasing with the amount of inventory coming to market with people that have been in their houses since interest rates have been so low. They have quite a bit of equity. Maybe they're well qualified and the capacities that you're talking about, but they see that they don't want to step out and buy a new house at 7%. Like, do you see more opportunity coming along with that for people that are listening that are like, is there opportunity for me in this? Or what's your take on that?
You know, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, listen, that's another thing too, is like, I have to put this homeowner in a better situation than they are today. So if they don't have enough equity to base, you know, to wipe out the majority of all their debt, you know, then the deal doesn't work, right? Because I don't want to take the bank's position and I don't want to put them in a situation where like 6 months down the road, I got to evict them. And it's like, well, I didn't get full pulp in my house. I didn't get my debt paid off and now I lost my house anyway. You know, like I want a success story. I never promise anybody in writing they can buy the house back. I don't think that's, I don't think that's good business practice, but like if any of them ever came back to me and was like, I want to buy it, I'm probably going to sell it to them. Right. Because it's, you know, if I can make my money on it, I want to do that. As far as like, you know, I don't see many people, like I get some phone calls on people like, hey, I got a new construction going on, it's 6 months out, whatever else. This program's probably not for them. It's really for the homeowner who's having some struggles and needs a reprieve, you know? I don't know, did that answer your question?
Inadvertently, a little bit. Kind of, sort of. Luke, what were you going to ask?
I was going to ask, so Andy, so when you're buying these houses, what is the average, I guess, length and, you know, I guess months or is it years that you typically lease back to them for?
I mean, for me, it's like we have a 3 to 5 year model, right? So 3 to 5 years, we're looking for a certain percent return on our capital. You know, and that changes based on, you know, like the houses we bought cash. I mean, we have almost all of our capital back. So it's like, we don't really have to follow that metrics anymore. For me, it's really like, it's like when you guys are signing any deal, right? Like, let's get the price and then everything else we'll figure out, right? Everything else we call the shots. So, you know, it's always, I want a 5-year lease. I'm like, all right, well, cool. I understand that, but like, you know, 5 years is a long time, and maybe it's best we do a 1 or 2 year with an option. So you have control of it for 3 years or control of it for 2 years, and you can kind of reevaluate your situation. Because listen, when you get, I'm sure all of us here, I mean, I just told a story. I mean, I lost my house, I lost everything, right? And so we've all experienced distress, financial distress, I'm assuming. And so like, it's a very clouded, heavy moment, right? Like these people I'm talking to have this weight of this home sitting on them, and their kids, and judgment from their family and their friends, and failure, and all this like shit that's going through their heads. And so when you remediate that, right, and you take that weight off and you pay everything off and you're still in your house and you get to like go to bed at night and like whew, you start to think about other things, right? How to make more money or how to live my life better or whatever else. And so, you know, I try to share that with them. I mean, look, I just had, believe it or not, a realtor, because you know realtors are great. I just had a realtor actually come on board and do the deal. A couple, two, they're both realtors. And the plan was for them to stay for 17 or 18 months until another house they owned vacated. They decided to vacate early. They called me and said, hey, it's been 3 months. Can we get out of the lease? I'm like, yeah, no problem. You know what I mean? Like I'll put somebody else in there, you know? So it's for me, like if I always tell the homeowner, like, look, you're never going to hear from me again unless your AC is broken or the water's leaking or whatever else. call me for that. Make a payment on time, and you won't hear from me. And if they're going to make payments, look, I got plenty of houses to move if I need to move something. To me, I think leading with the reason why I got into real estate was to help people, right? And I think sometimes we get away from that with these quick hits or trying to rip pops or whatever. And it's like, I have the ability to help people out, and I'm going to do what I can to be a part of their successful journey. And it's kind of a weird space for us. I mean, I think in a lot of our spaces, we don't get repeat clients, right? Like you hope they don't repeat, so this is kind of my weird way of like having a relationship with these people that help them and be part of their journey that's successful and have the feel good, but also can make money along the way,
That's awesome.
So a couple years typically, but like I said, if they want to keep, I got a 7-year guy who his mom owned it before, his grandfather gave it to him before.
Right.
He passed away in it. She may or may not have passed.
Oh.
Uh-oh. I
think we lost him.
He
That was a
he
quick
lost it.
exit.
His mom lost it. I'm about to lose it.
God.
And we're done.
Well, since we're on a break, here we go. Uncle Brent is coming to the Phoenix RIA on the 15th of April. Good old talk to people. So
TTP.
TTP is coming to the Phoenix RIA. So far, I'll leave my camera. It seems like it's working for a second, but if it stops, if I slow down while we're waiting for him to jump on, then I'll get rid of the camera.
Yeah,
I wanted to see the birthday boy's face anyway, so there he is.
Yes, it's different when you're just talking into the void.
Chris, you got any plans for the day?
What's that?
You got any plans for the day?
I went to Costco and I got a bunch of New Yorks and a bottle of Austin Hope. That's my evening.
Okay, there we go. That will work.
You guys had a celebration in Florida, though, didn't you?
Yeah, on Saturday. Oh, guess who's back? Guess who's back?
I'm so glad.
Andy, if you're gonna ban some books out, man, you're like his son lost it, the mother lost it, and then you just cut off. Or like Andy's lost it.
I'm sorry, I'm boring you guys.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean,
now you've even shifted spots on the screen here.
Yeah. I don't think Steve's ever leaving, and so
you have a flair for the dramatic.
Heck yeah, and that's super cool. I like to hear that. It's fun to hear different perspectives of people who are actually trying to help people, because it's unfortunate, but I think there's a lot of people when they first get into just wholesaling, there's no barrier of entry. So you have people that come in, all the time from any direction and any, walk of life, which I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but a lot of times, you have people who are just trying to get houses under contract. And, when they come in and all they're trying to do is get houses under contract, they're going to do anything they can to try to get that property, which is, when we go against some of these people, they're going to come in with this absurd offer that makes no sense, and you can straight up tell the seller that offer is not a real offer. Like that cannot it cannot pencil to make any sense buying it at that price point.
Yeah.
And, they think that obviously you're just trying to get the deal from them, but it's, you don't want to say it's nice and you don't want to say you like it, but you kind of enjoy it when they give you a call back and they say, hey, they canceled on me. You know what I mean? And again, I don't like to say you like it, because they're putting them in a tough spot, because, the thing is, and this is what we always explain to our sellers when we talk to them, is that, we're going to 100% move forward with it. If we're going to commit, we're going to commit. Where you have all these wholesalers that are going out there now. And like I said, they're throwing their 10-day, their 20-day inspection periods. And these people are completely uprooting their lives, getting ready to move with 1 day left, when they're ready to completely move, and they've got the moving trucks and they've got their flights and everything. And then the wholesaler comes in and says, hey, I need a $75K price reduction. And you're just like, it's terrible to hear that. And it's terrible to see it. And we see it every day. It's so unfortunate. So that's why it's nice to actually hear someone that actually says, hey, I actually care about the people, and I actually want to make sure that I'm putting them in a good situation, versus just chasing the money, because that's what so many people do in this industry.
Well, and think of how many of those people actually want to stay in their house too. Like Andy, you and I have a background in pre-foreclosure, and a lot of times that was their, not all of the time, but a healthy amount of the time, they actually wanted to stay. They didn't want to leave. But then when you distill down what their reasonable and probable options were, it was, you got to sell. So that's
Yeah.
got to be satisfying to be able to keep people in their houses and help them to be able to move on to their next journey, whatever that looks like in that house or another one.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I appreciate you guys saying that. I mean, I don't know if we should get started going down the path that Luke just opened up, because, you know, that's one of the things that, like, in this industry, that drives me wild. I mean, I'm trying to curse on here. Like, anyway, like, you know, we have notaries signing docs at I mean, you guys saw I'm sure you guys all saw the document that came out recently, but, like, you know, you got notaries signing at the dinner table before title's even open. You got people that are, you know, memorandums, and you got no outs in the contract. And, you know, it's like, man, it's muddying the waters up so bad for, I mean, when I started the district, I used a white background for this exact reason. You know what I mean? Like there needed to be somebody good to come treat people. I want to make money, and I don't feel guilty about $1 I've ever made in real estate. Not one.
Yeah. Right.
But,
Exactly.
And I earn it. Right. And like, I put together something that, you know, is a benefit to the homeowner, and there's a cost associated with my services. And, you know, we can argue if 30 grand's too much or 300 grand's too much, but we all have to make money. And I'm not mad at anybody making money, but I just think, like, you know, I love the effort Chris is putting in to draw some attention to, you know, some ethics in our space, because it's man, it's just like, if you wouldn't do it to your grandmother, you know what I mean?
Right.
You probably shouldn't do the deal, you know?
Yeah.
100%. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I think more and more regulation is going to come. And I don't think necessarily regulation is awesome, but, like, if you can't stop the bad actors, I mean, the wholesale law, you have to disclose you're a wholesaler, which, you know, isn't that big a deal. All you got to do is put, you know, something in a piece of paper that says, hey, I'm going to wholesale. I at least had the option to wholesale this property.
Right.
And
Right.
That's been in my contract since 2015.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's like, I just don't understand. Like, sure, I'm not waving a flag saying, hey, this is every option I'm going to have. But like Luke said, you know, if I'm coming in the deal, I'm gonna move on it, and whatever I got to do to move it, it makes sense for you to sign this deal, right? So I'm not opposed to the regulation. I mean, obviously it sucks it's here, but I think, look, there's far less deals, there's far more people trying to do them, and, you know, I think, just like with anything else, the people that are doing it the right way will rise to the top and be able to continue to help people, you know.
Well, my experience, that sort of transparency and resourcefulness has actually helped with conversion. It's one thing if you're showing up and you have to, like, club them over the head and do it under the guise of something else and be such a wordsmith that, you know, it takes a team of attorneys to understand your contract, versus, hey, let me be a resource. I might not be the best solution for you, but here's a couple different options. Here's what's reasonable. And by the way, here's some things to look out if other people are saying these things. And I have found time and time again, to Luke's point, that people end up calling back. They're like, they did that thing that you said that they were going to do, or it fell through, or I just trust you, or I just like you better than the other guy because he felt like I was being taken advantage of. So I just feel like, of course, I've lost deals that way because some people are just willing to, you know, have a different sales tactic, if to put it very politely. But in the long run, your reputation means so much in this industry. And, like, all of us have been around for so long for very specific reasons. One of which is we're, you know, not doing things that we shouldn't be doing just to pen another deal.
Yep. I can't tell you how many times I go on an appointment, and, you know, whether there's however many people that have gone there before me, and they'll have a contract on the counter, right? Or they have multiple contracts that they're kind of, you know, going back and forth between. And I'll say, hey, can I take a look at this? And let me know if anything stands out to me. And they love it. You know what I mean? They love it because it's like, you know, it's just getting another set of eyes on it. And I mean, I can't tell you how many contracts I've looked at where, like I'm saying, it'll say a 20-day inspection period with a 25-day close of escrow. And then it'll have a you know, a $300 or a $500 EMD. And I mean, again, I'm not trying to say there's anything wrong with that, but again, it's just one of those things where it's like, how serious is this person if what their EMD that they're willing to lose is $500, and they're taking you all the way up to an inspection period days before you're supposed to close on the property. Like, that's just not really, it's not realistic. And again, you see it way too often.
Yeah.
I've
as
seen
a segue, guys,
75-day inspection.
That's insane. Well, what's even more sad is that the seller is signing it. So they're saying it in such a way that, like, they're taking advantage of people, and B, that the seller is just like, oh, whatever they say sounds good, and this gives me some sort of relief valve, and whatever you got to do, because I believe you. But on that note, I do have to jump off right at 2:30, guys. So I'm going to exit the conversation. Happy birthday, Chris. Good to see you, Andy, and I'll see you guys next week.
We'll see you, Tracy.
Thanks, guys.
So Andy, who's your avatar you going after? Are you basically hitting the foreclosure list? Are you doing some reinstatements, or is that kind of the list you're focused on?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a challenge, man. To be honest, just to be honest with you, right? Like if we do some letters, we just started some letters again. I mean, foreclosure letters, right? But I mean, I'm one of 50 in the mailbox at that point. You know, it's like now I'm competing with everybody. I mean, and it's really hard to get organic search because again, the Sale-Leaseback is just not really a common theme. So, you know, on the pay-per-click side, I'm competing with probably both of you guys and competing with Bank of America, OfferPad. You know what I mean? Like it's a very challenging piece. I'll tell you what's super interesting though. You know, I'm not doing, and you know how hard it is to market on Facebook, right? Like there's zero honing in you can do, right? Being in the housing sector. But it's really interesting, and I don't know why it is, but you know, when with the district, I mean, we were identifying neighborhoods, and we were just consistent. Like it was more of a shotgun approach. We had a $400,000 budget for mailers, and so it was just volume. And there was a lot of properties that we could do fix and flip or wholesale, whatever else. The majority of these houses the majority of people that reach out, they're actually in kind of the cookie cutter homes, which is nice because, you know, maybe institutional buyers come back in the future and a lot of these homes would qualify. I try to stay away from pools, but if the deal works, I'll do a pool. Right. You know, but I'm getting a lot of people that nobody knows about yet. You know, they're doing some sort of research, maybe 3 or 4 other guys that they've clicked on. But I'm kind of getting a lot of people that are still in the shadows. And so, you know, it's a lot of education on my side of, hey, have you worked with nothing worse than getting all the way down to like, I'm gonna try a loan mod after you negotiate everything, right? So it's like, how far down this path are you? And look, it can kind of go against your salesman training at times, but I don't need to do every deal and I don't need every house, right? And if the homeowner can work with the lender, they never have, and they got a good story, you know, I'm probably going to push them to go work with their lender first because it's better for them to stay in their house and continue having appreciation of equity. Now, I also share with them, like, look, there's a difference here. You can get a forbearance or you can get some sort of modification, and it's short-term, get you back on your feet. But are you still going to have all these other issues? And if you get a flat tire or the AC breaks or whatever else, are you right back in the situation where, you know, based on this run-up of appreciation, you got 6 figures you could put in your bank account, eliminate all your debt, stay in the house, get back on your feet, and you got to make a decision what's right for you. I mean, listen, I would have a hard time selling my house in uprooting my kids, right? Like, it's like, this is home, you know? So it's a massive decision to do that. And, you know, if they have to make the decision, I always ask them point blank, like, what's more important to you, right? Like eliminating all the stress and having a fresh footing, or you think you can just kind of get back on your feet and kind of dig your way out of it slowly, and they'll make that decision. But, you know, as far as the avatar goes, man, almost every deal I do has family, whether kids or elders that they're taking care of, right? Because that makes life more challenging. Yeah. For me, I'm looking for somebody who's got a good job history. You know, they're people that were working and doing stuff, and somebody got sick in the family, or they lost their job, or, you know, there was some sort of stumble. They're not just out like, you know, living life the wrong way. The house itself, I do like the cookie cutters now. I've always been like a architectural, do some cool stuff, build some cool things. Those houses never make me any money.
That's the boat I'm in, Andy. I've taken that over for you.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, I'm glad there's some cool product being built. You know, it's like, you know, it's just really hard to make money in that space. For me, it was. And so, you know, these cookie cutter 3-bedroom, 2 baths. I mean, you know, Glendale, Buckeye, Chandler. Yeah. I mean, you know, and I can do a higher price point too, right? Like because of utilizing existing debt. It just depends on how much equity I got to come to the table, you know, but I've done some $800,000 deals where typically my ballpark is always kind of hit singles and doubles because I got wiped in 2008. I just don't have the stomach to go do a $2 million deal. So I've always kind of just been the singles and doubles player. And, I've stretched that dollar amount a little bit, but, good human beings, they got a family, they got a nice house, but not so nice that it can't be improved when they leave. Yeah. They have the ability to put money in their bank account and or wipe out all their debt to put them in a better financial situation. They have the ability to repay at a higher amount. And then obviously they have the desire to stay. And then what's the debt structure look like? And not only can we use it from a financial aspect, does the numbers make sense, but are they willing to go on this ride of being financially responsible for this loan, but not owning their house, right? So there's a lot of disclosure in that, right? I mean, there's so many layers we just talked about before Tracy logged off, trying to be transparent as we can with these homeowners to lead them down a path that's going to be a benefit to them. But now you have to like over disclose all the ins and outs and what could happen if it goes sideways and they no longer have the deed, but they're on the hook financially. And you got to get people to buy into that, and they got to believe in you. So, it kind of narrows down real tight. And, it's maybe I could do a better job going after real estate agents or mortgage brokers or, divorce attorneys or whatever, and have that, that circle of influence that would refer deals. But I've always just kind of, back when I was doing a lot of deals, I didn't really work with other wholesalers. I just kind of figured like, hey, we're all on our own and get after it. I know there's a large contingency of, I know Chris has built a good contingency of people that all kind of work together. It just wasn't my thing. And so, maybe that's a mistake, and maybe somebody else listening who's in a different market, hopefully not Luke, but somebody else, that wants to get in space. I mean, that's probably a good avenue to go, and have that warm introduction into what I provide.
For sure. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like I said, I like
Andy,
different
thanks for
perspectives.
Thanks for jumping on. We usually try to keep this right at a half hour, but everybody's got a little better idea of what sale-leasebacks look like in today's market, and obviously there's some upside in these rentals, right? It's not just buying a normal rental and going through the process. At least at the end of this, you're probably in a nice equity position when it does sell at the end of the road.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the major benefit is like, look, a lot of these people built these houses, they picked them out, they painted the color of the walls they wanted. Yeah. It's like when the faucet leaks, they're used to fixing it. They're not calling me, right? It's like the major stuff that goes wrong I get a phone call on. And so when I do get these houses back, I mean, they kind of look like the pictures I took when I walked it. Yeah. So they love on the properties. I mean, look, we'll see where the markets go now, but I mean, yes, there's been a good appreciation in the run up. And look, Chris, obviously, for what you provide to all these investors, look, if you guys have deals that you want me to help you underwrite on, I'm a buyer for them. I can show you how I underwrite them. I can give you the numbers on them. I can tell you what I pay for it. And you can go work it however you want. But look, I'm a free resource to help people out because I think if there was some more competition in this space with what I'm doing, it's somebody else to carry the burden of explaining what this product is to homeowners here in the Valley. But I think there's a lot of people out there that could use it. So I appreciate all you guys giving me the opportunity to share my story and to come on. And Chris, it's been a good relationship. Luke, I've seen your name in deals for a long time. So
for sure,
good to put a face to a name. And I appreciate you guys a ton. So thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, we appreciate you.
I'll reach back out. And we'll put you back in the Phoenix Re on a panel, maybe in the fall or early next spring as well. Just remind everybody that you're out there.
Yeah, I'd love it. And also, if you want to touch on something with wrapping the existing debts. I mean, I've learned a lot of lessons around that too. So,
all right, sounds great. Thanks
again.
Guys,
thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate you.
Bye-bye.